using in bigger applications or like applications of specific use cases. Few things are like there is no React Native support. You can't use Tailwind with React Native. And I am working on React and React Native, so that was my first problem I faced. Next thing is big bundle size. Like using Purge CSS, you can of course reduce it to some extent, but still you have to include a lot of CSS within your bundle, which is again a problem in our opinion. Readability. Of course, there are atomic CSS, you can use multiple class names, but then for a practical component, I couldn't find the end. Like either it's like 3-4 lines of CSS or like it goes out of the readable view. So it was quite hard for me to read when in a practical application I was using a lot of class names. Also, very huge number of classes. Even if in autocomplete it was a bit hard. And then you need extra build tools. Like you definitely need Purge CSS. Without Purge CSS, you can't go ahead and get a production build. And also you need to, whenever you change the config and all the stuff, you need to rerun the Tailwind CLI for generating the custom class names. These were the problems we had with Tailwind. And already I was liking to use styled components. One of the main reason was React Native support. Styled component supports React Native out of the box, and it was so cool. And there was no CSS pollution, like class names don't conflict with each other. I can have individual like same component names across different files and use it in those respective files. That's no problem at all. I was so happy with style components the way I write CSS, because I don't have to worry what somebody else in some other team has written in their file or in their component. All I need to worry is only my component. And composable CSS with React components. That's the most favorite feature of style components for me, because like Tailwind gives you similar things, but it's not way straightforward, or like you need to plan well in advance to use composition in Tailwind. But with styled components, it's on the fly. You need it, you use it. If you don't need it, you just leave it. So it's not required for you to write all the CSS into a component. Like you can create a button component, and later you can compose it over and create a primary button and secondary button type components. And also, like with styles, you get the class names, which is more clear. Like instead of having 10 class names of for a single HTML div, it's more clear for me to read something like a styled primary button. It already tells me that it's a button which is styled using styled components, and the role of the button is primary. And you don't need any extra build tools. So I loved styled components, but I was having some issues there. Every CSS I need to write, especially when it comes for responsive design. I need to write a media query within styled components, where I again call different CSS properties. And writing atomic CSS was a bit hard. So I was lazy. I'll say I'll not say this was a big problem, but I was lazy to write all of CSS after having the comfort of Tailwind CSS. So like I'm a greedy person. I wanted both. I wanted the best of both the worlds. I of course understand both are different worlds. Both are best in own ways, but I wanted something more. I was thinking about it, like how Trump thinks right now to somehow win it back. And one thing, and that's how the conversation went. And simply we thought, why can't we get the best of both worlds, me and Amir? And that resulted in the building of Tailwind. This was the idea we got. Okay, this is how we build a styled component. Like const, we give a variable name, then styled.div or whatever component you want. And then we normally write CSS. We thought, why don't we write a Tailwind class name instead of CSS? That was the only thought we had. Then we started investigation, we started brainstorming. Then we started building Tailwind actually. Okay, what are all the benefits of using Tailwind? You get React Native support out of the box, because we have built it on top of styled components. Tailwind like atomic CSS, because it's going to support completely whatever Tailwind supports as class names. It's going to support everything. Smaller bundle size. Why? Because though we use Tailwind class names in styled components, we actually don't use tailwind at all. Tailwind is not a part of tailwind at all. And even styled components is not a part of styled wind. Styled components should be a peer dependency, of course. We have built styled wind to work on top of styled components, so we need it in peer dependency. But it's going to be a very small library, so the bundle size is going to be very small, and it gives me the benefits of using styled components, which is composable CSS with React components. I'm not sure even that's possible with Tailwind, because now I can use four Tailwind class names into a component, and I can compose it along and add more Tailwind class names, which is giving me so much power and usage. Again, component name is attached. It's so clear. Even when a new person comes into the code base, he's going to be exactly clear what that particular component is going to do because of the naming convention. And the most beautiful thing, I guess, you people will love is one-step migration, which I'll be showing you guys in the demo. And we have a Babel plugin version. Ta-da! Now, it doesn't matter how big your application is. If you are using styled components already, you are not going to increase your bundle size. You are not going to add any additional dependencies for your bundle. You are not going to do anything supernatural or any breaking change for your application. All you need are going to do is install a Babel plugin and then start using Tailwind class names out of the box. Don't care about anything. Within styled components, use Tailwind class names. It's going to work like a charm. Again, this will be shown in the demo. And you don't need any extra build tools. All you need is Babel. That's it. Also, of course, I forgot to mention, Babel plugin is a way to use, but we also have a standalone Tailwind library as well. Today, the demo will be on standalone thing, because in the official docs, I have a clear demo for using the component. I'll share the link of the official docs with the repository and in Twitter. But right now, today, the demo will be more on the Babel plugin side. Before we go on to the demo, let me show you how it works, like how we have architectured or how we have decided to see the future of the library, or what is our vision. So this is the high level of our architecture of Tailwind. What we do, we get the Tailwind class names and then we pass it to Tailwind. This is not for Babel plugin, this is for the actual library. If you are using Tailwind as the actual library, you will not be requiring styled component to be used in the code. You will be passing all the class names to Tailwind, not styled components. So you will pass all the class names to Tailwind, and this Tailwind, what it will do, we are creating something like a plugin system. Today we have only one plugin, that is our Tailwind plugin. What it does, it gets this class names from Tailwind and then passes it to our internal plugin, and this internal plugin converts the class names to corresponding CSS. We have a internal CSS generator which creates CSS, and then it replaces the string and passes it to styled components. So end of the day, for the system or for the browser, it's going to be a normal styled component with normal CSS written into it. No change at all. But for the developer or for the developer experience, it's going to be magic. That's what we have created. And the future is like, say tomorrow if somebody is interested in using Bootstrap, but they actually don't want to use Bootstrap, but they want to use Bootstrap class names with styled components. Why not? Just create a new plugin for Bootstrap, add it with Tailwind, you are good to go. Tomorrow somebody else may come and ask for Material UI. Yeah, contribute for a plugin. You're good to go. So that's what we have. We are having a vision of. It's going to be a plugin driven library in future. But right even now it's plugin driven. But currently we support only one plugin. We don't have other plugins. That's how we have architected, and that's how we are seeing the future of style. Okay, probably few people are already thinking, what am I saying? So let's not waste more time and let's see some code. Where is the code? Okay. This is This is just a create React app which I have bootstrapped and then have created a single component. That is my app component using styled components. Container which has 100 VH and heading which has a margin top and a button which has a color and a background. And I'm just using this, and this is my output. I have a heading, welcome to Fullstack Earth, and I have a button, click me. Now, how do I migrate this, or how do I enable styled wind here? No need to change anything in my code here. All I need to do is in package JSON, like I have ejected a CRA, client React app, sorry, create React app. I have added only one line. Within plugin array of Babel settings, I have just passed Babel plugin Tailwind. If you have a custom Babel setup, you can use it in Babel RC. Just include this one line and you are good to go already. That's it. Include this. Now go here. Say if I want some padding and margin for my button. I'll do padding. For y-axis, I will have maybe 3. Save it. Got it. I don't know why automatic reload was not working. It should work now. And padding x-axis, maybe I'll have 5, 4. And you can see live in the right side. And maybe I'll make my text a bit larger. Text Excel. Excel. Yeah. So now I already Tailwind is like I'm able to use Tailwind class names with my components. This is not a very big feature for me because I can still write instead of this 4 characters, I can write padding top and padding bottom and all the stuff. But the most favorite things are the responsiveness and the hover actions. Say if I want hover now, instead of writing the bigger part of thing like bigger part how we used to do in normal CSS, all I do is dot hover colon bt hyphen green hyphen 500 maybe. Save it. Now if you see here, I'm just hovering and I'm getting the color already. And other big thing is responsiveness. That's it. I don't have to write any media query. .lg and say I'll make my background color to be it's already red. For hover it's green, so probably I'll choose blue 400. And if you see, normally it is red because it's not large screen yet. But when I expand the height, when it reaches the breakpoint for large screen, it became blue. Again, I minimize the height, minimize the width, it becomes red. As simple as that for creating responsive UI. This is the beautiful thing I like. Also, you have customizations. You can create a file called tailwind.js and then you can use Tailwind structure itself. This is the exactly same structure which Tailwind uses internally, and you can create custom colors. So right now I created something called Vilva. So what I can do is go here. So that color is something like cyan. Instead of color white, which is my text color, I can directly use text hyphen Vilva. I don't know if you noticed, but the color of the text has changed to cyan because that's the color code I have used for Vilva. Probably I'll remove the background. Now if you see, you can see the color has changed to cyan. Now next thing I'll do is for background color. Now I'll maybe make my text black and I'll create background color of Vilva. Cool. Text has become black, background color becomes cyan. This is the beauty of customization as well. So if you want any color or any breakpoints or any margin or any padding to be added, just add it to the theme and it will reflect everywhere. You can directly start using it. Now my color name, which is named Vilva, will work for background, will work for text, will work for border. Wherever you can use a color, everywhere it will be present already, omnipresent. This is the power of our Tailwind library. Cool. Where is my slides? Roadmap. If you ask, can you use this library already in production? I will say only one problem you have currently. Of course, we suggest using Babel plugin because, yes, Tailwind is not very big. It's a small library, but you don't even have to include that. Babel works beautifully, so we suggest you to use Babel plugin. But only problem right now we have is we don't have linting or autocomplete. So if you have styled components VS Code plugin enabled, you will get red errors. So we are currently building a linter and also a VS Code extension which will give you autocomplete for all the class names. So you don't have to remember. I remember because I have been using it for quite some time, but you may not remember initially. So we are working on autocomplete feature. If you are okay in disabling the styled components linter and the extension, you can definitely use it in production from today, from this minute. So it's super safe. It will not break anything. You can still write like along with this class names. You can even write normal CSS here. So you can always write like this, and the color red has over redundancy. So nothing is going to break. Your current workflow can continue as it is, how it is right now. Additionally, you get some superpower of using Tailwind class names. So the only choice you need to take is: are you okay in disabling the extension, or are you okay in ignoring the errors which it creates? Because it's not going to error when it's going to bundle. It's going to error only in your local dev environment. Or wait for some more time, we'll finish the VS Code extension as well, and then it will be super ready for all of you to use it. That's it. This is our URL. I'll also tweet about it and share it in Twitter. Give us some stars, encourage us, and we are always welcoming PRs, feature requests, and issues, whatnot. PR diagrams, blogs, just a mention, just a kudos, whatever it is, whatever contributions, you are welcome. Probably I'll open and show you the docs once. We have a very detailed docs. So this is the video which explains how to use Tailwind library. I explained right now the Babel plugin, and we have all the questions you might have as answers. We have quick start, configuration, Babel plugin, contribution, migration, showcase, everything. And also, if some of you are going to try this and build something today, do mention us and tweet. We will add your website in our showcase list. We are actually building a real product which may be used by many people using this library. And so far so good. We never faced any issue. Once that is live, we'll share more information on it. Oh, done. To give a follow in Twitter, this is my Twitter handle, Vilva Diban. You can search for my name and you'll find me in any platform for that matter. And thank you for having me here. It was good talking, though it's very early morning. I'll stop sharing and open for questions.
Awesome. That was amazing. So yeah, also please do follow Vilva. He's very active on Twitter. And we'll just take a few questions. I have 3 questions here, but before I ask, I would like someone in the audience also to post the questions in the chat. And let me just start with my first question. My question is mainly around theming. So Style Components also has its own theming, and Tailwind also has its own theming, right? And I could see that the theme.js that you showed, that was probably related to Tailwind theming, because when you add a color Vilva, it is generating BG and color and so on. So how does it work with Style Components theme provider? Or does it work with that? Or
whatever you're passing as Style Component theme provider comes in props. And whatever
yes.
you're going to create with Tailwind comes as class name. So again, it's your choice. Both will be available. You can choose what you want to use.
But this color is probably not. It will probably not come from style component props, right? From context.
So, for if you want this color to come in style component props, you need to pass it
Yeah.
to style component theme.
Style
This
component.
will
Yeah.
just create you this whatever this tailwind.js, whatever you enter there, will create you multiple class names for that particular color,
Hmm.
which
Yes.
you can use directly. And
Yeah.
also, like
Because
one more thing which I forgot to mention is this tailwind supports conditional classes, which you can't do in tailwind. Like based on a prop value, you can choose which class to come in. So
yes. Oh, okay. So is that supported in Stylewind or
yeah, it is
prop?
supported in tailwind.
Should be
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
so
Awesome. So Shiraj is asking, is
mhm.
the extension available now? So which extension? Probably
The
tail.
VS Code extension, maybe
Yes.
we are working on it. It's super complex because if it's going to be a standalone extension, it's pretty straightforward. But most of the people who are the target users of this library will already have styled components extension installed. So we are trying to have a extend on styled components installed. So it's super tricky.
Yes. Yes. Oh, because once you open the tags, style components
Yeah,
is going to click in, right? So
yeah,
okay.
that's the thing. So either
Uh,
we should force our users to disable that and use a new extension, or we need to extend from that extension. That is
yeah.
what the challenge currently we are facing.
Okay. So Daksh is
Uh,
asking, is purging CSS or removing unused Tailwind classes working with this?
that's the whole point, right? We don't need that at all. This is a Babel plugin, and or even if you use Tailwind directly, we are not going to include the whole CSS. We don't use Tailwind at all. Like Tailwind is not part of the bundle or not part of any workflow. The CSS is either generated runtime if you are using the Tailwind library, or if you are using Babel plugin, it's generated build time. So there will be no chances of unused CSS at all.
Yeah, so probably because when you add classes, you're going to fetch that rule
Yes.
and
We
paste
are
there.
not even going to fetch it. We are going to generate it. We have a generator plugin. That's what I was
Hmm.
talking about the plugin system.
Yeah. So then the linter is all probably also going to be a plugin for Tailwind for Stylewind, right? So because for Bootstrap also you probably have your own linter and going forward probably.
Yes. The immediate focus is to create a linter and VS Code extension. Once we are done with that, we will create plugins for Bootstrap and Material UI. That's in the vision right now.
Awesome. So
Yeah. Yeah.
one question
Uh,
is, um,
yeah.
what is your timeline to support the new version of Tailwind? Timeline.
That's not going to be super hard for us. It's probably a weekend's work, but I'm going on vacation. So if Amir does it,
Hmm.
or if any of you are welcome to do it, I'm happy. Otherwise, probably in Jan mid, you can expect the newer version because from next week I'm going on 1 month long vacation.
So our viewers don't know that, but Bilva, he already took 1 week vacation from office to work on Stylewind to prepare for this talk. Uh, so
No,
yeah, so
actually
my
I was
one
building
question
the
is,
base.
they will plug in.
Yeah,
Okay.
that was the week we were building Babel plugin, and actually I was targeting to finish the VS Code extension as well, but it was so complex, so we stopped with Babel plugin, and we thought, okay, we'll push the extension later.
Awesome. So my question is, the last question that I have is performance. Do you have anything to share on the performance of how it
Um,
works?
if you use Tailwind directly as a library, there may be minor performance. I will not say there will be any major performance issues. It's going to be a
Hmm.
few people are very curious about micro performance management, right?
Yeah.
For them, it may be an issue, but
Hmm.
that's the reason we chose Babel plugin. If
Yeah.
you're going to use Babel plugin, then your performance
Build
is
time.
going to be exactly the same. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. So with this, if you have more questions, you can just interact with Vilva in the launch. So we'll take a short break now.
Yeah, I'll be available
So
for like 10-15 minutes and then I'll drop off. Actually,
yeah.
no, apply doesn't work because that's not a use case which we have in our ecosystem, in Tailwind ecosystem. Apply is for Tailwind because there you have multiple classes. you will have to combine and do all this stuff. So
Also, apply require a new build to run? I think. Uh,
not sure about it because I stopped using honestly Tailwind. I'm using
yeah,
Tailwind for all the new projects I'm working on.
awesome. So let's just take a short break now, and everyone, you can meet with Vilva and all the other speakers in the launch. So we'll come back in 15 minutes, I think. Um,
Giant HTML files and then giant CSS files, and you cannot split them into anything. You have web components, but again, they are not very ideal, and the syntax is hard. So the code is completely not scalable. I was thinking about this, and I thought if I were to recreate HTML, what would I add? What are things I think are needed in today's web? So I ended up building this. It's a tool called Abel. I did not start it with the intent of building a static set generator, but yeah, this is what I eventually ended on. I'm Saurabh. You can find me on Twitter at Saurabh Coach. I just graduated, and I think I'll be joining job like next month or something. So yeah. Um, so yeah, I just threw this statement: a static set generator for JavaScript developer. Let's break it down. What that means. First of all, what is a static site generator? So this is your client-side frameworks. You have app.view index.html, and then you run npm run build, and you get index.html and app.js. And then usually you have this blank root, and then you just link your app.js to it, and it outputs a JavaScript that renders HTML content. So this JavaScript is responsible for adding content inside this root element. Whereas static site generators output HTML content directly. So you have a template and any template. So you would have EJS or there's mustache, handlebars, any template engine. Then you have Markdown JSON files. And when you run npm run build, you get what you get is a static HTML file which has the actual content. So if your website does not have any client-side JavaScript, it will not output any client-side JavaScript at all. So I do want to emphasize that I don't mean to say static site generators are better or client side frameworks are better. It's just that they are their own use cases. Usually, if your website doesn't have much of the content and it doesn't make sense to have this additional call to app.js and then wait for JavaScript to render your HTML. Static site generators can have initial loads much faster than client side frameworks. Again, you have server side rendering as well, which just does things similar to what static site generator does, but it uh, does this rendering on server on each call. And on static site generator's case, you just get the output as a static site. Then I said for JavaScript developers. What do I mean by for JavaScript developers? So these are the static site generators that Abel directly competes with. So if you've used any of these tools, Abel is kind of equivalent to them. There's also Gatsby and Next.js and Nuxt. They also render the static sites, but they're more of a hybrid approach and a more a framework oriented approach to them. So you have Vue and React, etc. These are the like pure static set generators. There isn't anything called pure static set generators. I'm just making this up, but yeah, kind of something that static set generators are on the core. So you have Elementy, Hexo, Jekyll, Hugo. Um, if you see the syntax, Hugo uses or Go for static set generator. Go is again a language, and then you just write this Go syntax. So you have define main, and then you range, and then you loop over with the Go syntax as well. You can just import things with template. Jekyll uses something called Liquid, which is a template engine based on Ruby. So again, you use Ruby over here. You have this Ruby syntax. You have if and for. Then you have Hexo, which is JavaScript, but it doesn't quite look like JavaScript much because most of the part that is there in EJS is the EJS and not really the JavaScript. So again, you have this if, and then you have these brackets, and then you percentage, and this partial function is coming from the EJS as well. Then you have these additional things. So I thought this syntax can be improved, and we don't really need that complicated syntax for something like a static set generator, because static set generators are usually used for building portfolios and blocks. So it is not worth learning that huge syntax for just building a block. So I for Abil, I built a custom template engine. So Abil is not only static set generator but also a template engine, which is based on Node.js. Or you can find its repository on abil.js/abil renderer. Uh, so this is how you write code in Abil. You just define variables. Const a equals to hello, const b equals to word, and then a plus b dot to uppercase. So this to uppercase change this word to the uppercase word. So you can use any of the JavaScript functions here. So this is a normal hello word. This is how you loop over things. So you can just define an array. So have apple, mango, and then dot map is also a JavaScript function. So I don't have to introduce any new for loop syntax. I don't have to introduce any new syntax to the users. This is something that we as a JavaScript developers are usually familiar with. So you can also, if you want to filter over fruits, you can just add the dot filter over here and then chain up this array methods. So can you do all these JavaScript things in Abel? So this is what you eventually get. You will with list apple mango. You can also have an object. Then you can just do fruit dot. Let's say the key is title. Then fruit dot title, etc. This is what I feel are the basic needs of web today. So you have loops, condition, logical part, which we talked about. You can even just put a ternary operator to add conditions over here, something like we do in React. So these are the basic needs. Then you have ecosystem, an option to require packages and libraries. This is again one problem with the HTML because it can't really be changed. It's a static thing, right? So you just have to go with the available things that web provides. And then you have components, components and just exclamation marks, because it's very important today for building websites. Components are kind of a need. So I'm going to talk about components now. So this is an Abel component. Abel also has components in the newer versions. So components are something that is wrapped inside the Abel component tag, and then you have template, style, and script. Uh, Template is again any your HTML template. It's just normal HTML. All those things that I showed you earlier inside the, so anything inside curly brackets is Node.js. Anything outside curly brackets is HTML. So these things are valid here as well. Then you have styles, and then you have script. Then you can require those components in the index.table. So this is nav.table. I just did require nav.table, and then I write props equals to brand JSL. So here this brand is passed as a prop to this nav bar. If you work with React, you would have things. You would think like you can add any attribute. You can't really add any attribute here. Props is the only attribute possible, which is intended because you can. This is your normal JavaScript object, so you can destructure things here. You can just add keys without values the way you do it in JavaScript. So all these JavaScript things are possible here. I'm just going to show the code. So we'll just hang around the code for now. I'll drop the link to code sandbox in somewhere. So this is a normal.abel file, the example that I showed you earlier. Const a equals to 2, b equals to 1, and then just I do a plus b equals to 1. Was it? Yep, here. You can make changes, and we get this direct reloading. So I don't have to refresh the page now. So yeah, whatever you change just is available over here. What I want to show you is, let's say fruit examples. Apple, mango. And then fruits dot map You can just directly write it like this as well. Fruit. Abel has a different like VS Code extension, which is also Code Sandbox uses. So you can add .html here if you want to highlight this part. So you get this highlighting. And if I reload, I get this apple and mango. You can also use other JavaScript methods. Let's say here I want a ternary operator. So if it is true, I'll print the true, and else I'll just print false directly. So it printed true, and if I just change it to false, it will print false. Ternary operators again, they seem nice for syntax like this, but imagine having a lot of conditions. That will be a lot more complicated, right? So what you can do in Abel is you can just create a function over here and say if true, return, okay, and then just return. So if you write a function, whatever you return through a function is rendered in this syntax. So if you have any complicated syntax to run, you can just return the particular syntax. If I just change this to false, we'll get oops and oops printed over there. Next thing I talked about is requiring packages, right? We'll talk about requiring packages in a minute. Let's just require a JSON file. So if I just write a JSON, I create an array, an object title, let's say project one, description, copy paste this, project two, full project. So I have this JSON over here now. In Abel, like I said, anything inside the curly brackets is Node.js. So you can do all your Node.js stuff like projects equals require and just require the projects or JSON file. Again, another cool part is you can console log things. So you can console log projects. So if I console log project, I get it in the terminal. You can let's just render it somewhere projects dot map. So project HTML. This is for syntax highlighting. Just writing H3. Don't mind it. Project dot is a title, right? Title. The project the description. So it is printed here. Like I said, the another cool part is requiring packages, and let's talk about components first. The example we showed you earlier. So now that let's actually see. Let's make footer double. You get snippets as well, so you can just like com and you'll get this snippet of Abel component. Abel component is a template, and then a template style and script. If you've worked with Vue, it's the overall syntax is similar, but script here is the vanilla JavaScript and not the Vue.js. So let's write footer. I have a footer, and I'll style it over here. Footer background color 30. Let's keep this like this for now. Or let's actually write here. This is like a very normal thing, right? Now you can also do this, but then again, the like I said, this is the Node.js part. So this is executed on npm run build. So this date will stay same. So every year you will have to rebuild your website to change the date. So instead, you can just write it in the client side. So I can select document dot query selector. I'll just say footer and then here. Inner HTML. So we have a component now. We can require it here. Const footer equals to require. In VS Code, the autocomplete. I just added autocompletion in VS Code. It is not. I haven't sent PR to Code Sandbox yet. It will be added later. But yeah, in VS Code, you'll get auto completion for this component's name as well. So I will add footer. We don't need this part. Let's just remove this for now. So yeah, we have a footer now. Again, the issue is, like I said, the vanilla vanilla HTML CSS was not scalable. This way, you get to write components. But now imagine having something like another footer here with time plus here. Let's say the same thing over here. Now, this will cause a problem because so yeah, only this footer has an ear and this doesn't. If you see the color here, even though I applied to footer, it wasn't applied to the outside part because the styles are scoped by default. So you don't have to do any additional thing. So whatever styles you write over here are only applied to the HTML that is in the same component. You can make them global by saying global, and it should be applied to everywhere. Why is it not saving? And then it is applied to all the footers. So the styles are scoped by default, but the JavaScript isn't, right? The JavaScript is still a problem. So if you read the description of this talk, I said I'll be announcing something. So in the current version, which is 0.8.0, which I just released yesterday, you can write something called a scope selector, and it ensures that whatever JavaScript you write is scoped to this element as well. So what you get, scope selector and scope selector all. These are the two functions that I added, and these are just replacement for document.querySelector and document.querySelector all. And they just make sure that your components are scoped. So this is a good practice now. So this is how we write components. Then, like I said, packages are a next cool thing. If I just go back to slides now. So there are some weird things that you can do with Node.js. Like I said, it's just Node.js, right? So you can do things that are quite, you can use Node.js packages without any additional abstraction. We don't need this now. So let's just close this. So this is an Abel SCSS example. It's an example of using SCSS with Abel. SCSS is again a better CSS. Like this eventually compiles into CSS. So usually in static site generators for SCSS, you would need a plugin or something additional abstraction. But if you see here, I just have Abel and Node Sass, which is the default Sass package. So I just require this from directly. You can require FS and path, all the basic Node.js packages as well. I can do Sass.render sync. This is again the usual Sass function, the usual Sass function that you're supposed to write in Node.js, but you can write it in Abel directly. I take the home.scss and I just write the CSS content into a new home.css file, and then I require it over here. So I can now use SCSS. It just works pretty well. I can change the color and it should change. Yeah, it changes as well. So you can do things like this. Another example I have is with environment variables. Again, with environment variables, there would be a different way of writing things for different static site generators. In case of Abel, you can just use your default Node.js packages. For example, I have this .env file over here, which says hello equals to whoop whoop. And then I have index.abel, which is takes process, which is the native Node.js function, and then a config, which requires .env, which is a package for Node.js for reading environment variables. and then if I just do process.env.hello, the whoop whoop is printed. So I don't have to, if there's something you want to do in Abel and you don't know how to do it, you can just Google search for how to do it in Node.js, and those things mostly work. Like whatever makes sense works. So this is a cool part. Abel does not require any additional ecosystem for itself. You can just make use of Node.js ecosystem in the first place. This is how you set up a project. You can just run npx.createAbel app, my app, and it will create a default app for you in Abel. npx is the command that you use for running npm modules directly. So equivalent to this would be npm install -g createAbel app and then createAbel app my app. So this will give you a setup, the initial project default starter. There's also abelJS.org/starters. This. So you can check it out. There are starters, so you can either just preview it. So this is a preview. You can use this with deploy with Netlify, which will deploy to Netlify and create a GitHub project for you, and then you can just make changes and it will be deployed to Netlify by default. Or you can generate on GitHub. Generate on GitHub will create the project with that website as a starter. So you can just create a project and it will be created with these files already. This is a preview. This is a blog built with Abel, so you can check it out. It has dark mode and syntax highlighting. So you can just use this, start directly with it. Also, there's this, like I said, createAbel app my app will start a project. You can add an additional -- template and whatever. You can use any repository, GitHub repository, and any GitHub repository that uses Abel, and it will use it as a starter. There are setup examples, so you can check that out as well. Another cool thing that is pretty cool was this slides itself, or this slides are built with Abel only. So there is this server running. It is on localhost. I have this server running over here. Again, this is not built for making sites, right? So there isn't any additional package for making sites. This is just normal Abel. So what I do is I have this function called parse deck. One second, I'll just show you how I write my slides. I have this deck.md. So if I just go up, I'm writing my slides in Markdown, and then I can add configurations. So this is my introduction slide. So I just added configurations with layout, title, show profile, show logo. Abel doesn't know what this all thing is. Again, Abel doesn't know we have to divide a slide into a --. So what I do is I have a parseDeck function, and I pass a Markdown file to it. And parseDeck function, what it does is it takes the deck path, it takes the path, it reads that file on that path, and it splits it into ---- to make sure which slides are different, and then a map over here to basically parse the meta and then parse the content, and then I return meta and content. If I just comment this out and console log this part. This printed meta and content. So wherever there's meta blank, it's a default plain slide, and for introduction slide it will be something different. So yeah, in introduction slide I have layout, title, show profile. So over here I just in .map I have switch layout, and if it is a title I return title slide, which is a component, or by default I return a plain slide, which is again a different component, and all my styles are here for this plain slide and for title slide. So yeah, my slides are built over Abel as well. You can check them out. I'll just add it over here, somewhere over here. 1890. Yeah. So what you get eventually is a static set generator, which needs lesser configurations, a syntax that is already familiar. If you're a Node.js developer or even a JavaScript developer, Node.js is just JavaScript with like different APIs. So yeah, you get a familiar syntax, lesser configurations. By lesser configurations, I mean if you saw the first code sandbox I opened, it just had the one single file, theme and /index.abel, and it works on that. You can even avoid the abel.config.js and it still works. Formula syntax, like I said, whatever inside curly brackets is Node.js, whatever outside curly brackets is HTML. Flexibility and control over bundling. Oops, I missed this part. I can show this. And pre-built ecosystem because of Node.js, so you can use Node.js ecosystem. That's your bundling part. I knew I was gonna miss this. So usually you'll be wondering where the styles and scripts that you write inside the component go, right? They have to compile to something. I'll just open this new part. If I just control U over here, you'll see I have this bundled main.abel.js file, which is the JavaScript file. This added scope selector from Abel, and then scope selector, our function, scope selector function. Then I have main.abel.css file, which has the CSS. So we have the CSS of footer. Now this is cool, but we need a better control over bundling, right? We can't just say that put everything into the main.css. So what you can do is bundle footer.css, and does it reload as well? Okay. So it added into a footer.css file. So you can have different components with bundling into a different, where the styles are bundling into different files. You can do the same thing with here as well, bundle footer.js, and it will be added to JavaScript. Another cool part is sometimes there are styles which are extremely important and critical. So you don't want that additional request to go to a CSS file. So what you can do is just add inline over here, and uh, styles are inlined into your HTML directly. So you get your styles over here inlined. You can do the same thing with JavaScript as well. So I can just say inline JavaScript, and I'll have my JavaScript here. So JavaScript will be over here. Abel doesn't add any client side thing, only this one line, and that too only if you use scope selector. If you just don't, it checks if the script is using scope selector. If it doesn't, then it will not add this line either. So there are no additional bundles that JavaScript ships, that Abel ships. And yeah, that is pretty much it. If you have any questions, you can ask. You can check out abelges.org, which is this documentation site. It has all the example of why to use Abel, and how there are documentations on. There's a syntax side and tutorial. So yeah, you can check it out. There's a GitHub.
I just pasted the links in the chat.
Yeah.
Man, Saurabh, this is incredible. This is one of my favorite talks already. Because I think you've shown so many features that just mind blown. I have a few questions actually, but before I ask my questions, I would like to see if anyone in the audience has questions. Anyone?
Yeah.
I think I have like what 7 questions or 5 or 6 at least. But okay, I'll just get started with my question. So you showed me one thing, right? Parse deck. So
yeah.
And you used JSON for metadata. You could probably have used front matter, maybe.
By like front matter, you mean? I'm not sure what front matter is.
So front matter is it's YAML. So it's like
Okay.
instead of writing JSON, you would write YAML. So similar to GitHub Actions. And front matter is a package that's well used in Gatsby also. I think Gatsby and Docusaurus by Facebook.
Okay.
They're using front matter.
Okay, so
I
like
would
Markdown on top, right?
In Markdown. Yes.
Yeah. Like there's meta.json. So meta.json you get. You can even use meta.js files. You can do dynamic parts in that as well. So if you want to like add dates, etc., so that is not possible in the YAML file on front matter. So for that reason, I've kept meta.js, and that is mostly the reason. And you can, let's say you're adding a source plugin.
Solid.
So usually source plugins. If you're using source plugin, you can just add this. Add that whatever values you get from API into meta.json. So you can just directly use this meta.json files as well.
Awesome. So Abhishek has one question, and he's asking, does VS Code plugin support autocomplete for CSS or JS? Does it support autocomplete?
It supports for HTML, and even for CSS. For JavaScript, it doesn't support it yet. Like it supports the basic syntax, like it supports if loop and while loop, which is the pre-built thing in a VS Code. But then there are additional extensions that we usually use. I think no VS Code ships itself with these plugins. So with there are additional plugins, so we have to override them somewhere. So that is not it supported, but it supports HTML and CSS properly.
Awesome. So one other question is that, so when you're building the template engine, right, for
Yeah.
it could be as something as simple as hello.table. What
Yeah.
went through building that? So to do all of that, what did you have to do? What are the the parts? How would you split it down?
So like initially when I was starting with Abel, I had no proper idea of like I did not even plan to build a template engine. I was just, I think initially I was using Mustache, which is again a template engine, which I think is quite nice compared to the EJS and other template engines. But then again, it had limitations. Like you can't do much of the JavaScript things in it. Your template engines are usually limited. So
Limited.
for Abel, I just thought like I had React in my front. Like React, I really like the how you write dot map in React. You can use any of the JavaScript things, so you don't have to remember additional for loop syntax or additional if syntax, or okay, I have this array, I have to loop over it, but I have to filter it before looping over it. So you don't have to remember any additional syntax for that. So I think a React was uh, like a very base, and then I think I just randomly thought like, what if I can just, there's a Node.js module called VM, which is a native modeling VM, native modeling Node.js. You can run JavaScript inside it. It's like eval, but a safer version of eval. So I just like
So it creates a
randomly
sandbox,
tried.
right?
Sorry.
Creates a small sandbox, and within that
Yeah, yeah,
maybe
right.
you can
Yeah,
inject.
right. So I just thought like I can just I did not even
Awesome.
like thought of it. I just tried and it worked, and I was like, okay, cool, let's go with this.
This is seriously good. So yeah. So if and I'm pretty sure a lot of people have a lot of questions, but before they ask in the chat, I'm going to ask one other question. That is, um, so this bundle splitting thing that you did, that inline stuff, uh,
Yeah,
again, that also seems magical to me because I haven't seen it anywhere. And because if you have to do
yeah,
bundle splitting in Next.js, I think you'll have to use dynamic, next.dynamic or something like that.
yeah.
Uh,
It's an
this
inline
seems so
bundle
much
is
simpler.
pretty complex. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, how did you do that also?
So I think I was watching a talk. It was an Jamstack Conf. It was from
Mhm.
Jake from Google. So he was talking about how hard it is to have something inlined. So they were like writing hundreds of roll-up plugins to get a
Okay.
website that inlines the scripts and inlines the tags. So I think that talk was pretty much gave me the idea that hey, we should have this something like this. Also, since it was kind of a luck by chance that I had the syntax like script and style, so I could just add them as an attribute. So
Yeah.
yeah, it worked. So
Well,
like
it seems very
have
easy,
some
but a lot of work is behind it, right? I mean,
yeah,
it seems very
it
simple.
takes like parts, and then just if you have an inline, it just writes it in the parent HTML. I have something called I have an object that knows which
No.
parent is using which component.
Awesome. Um, yeah. So, people, any more questions? Um, I think so. I just want to do a recap because I'm so blown away by this because there is scope styling, um, there's scope styling. I think doing that is also pretty hard, right? I mean, I don't
Yeah.
see much of a bundle time taking.
Um,
I mean, it seems very fast, instantaneous, and you have scope styling as well.
yeah.
Then you have components. I thought you could have talked more about components a little bit because I think you just showed a couple of slides and we jumped
Yeah.
right away into features.
Yeah. Right.
But if you could just talk a little bit about
Yeah.
components and yeah,
So
about composition maybe.
whatever you
Yeah.
can do in your normal build file, you can just do same things in components as well. Like I said, the
Hmm.
props thing is one. You can pass props, and then eventually, even in components, you can require npm packages and require JavaScript and JSON files. So it's
Okay.
almost similar to the Abel files. Only the you have template, style, and script. Only that thing differs.
So Utkarsh is asking if you have any more integrations with headless CMS. So, for example, Contentful
Um,
is one
yeah,
that
right.
comes to
So
mind.
I think I didn't talk about plugins here. We also have plugins, so you can write source plugins. Your source plugins. I
Hmm.
have. I can share my screen and show you a source plugin. One second. So using source plugins, you can write plugins for like connecting to any of the headless CMS or even the star sites as well.
So it's
So
like
this is the
Gatsby
official
source,
plugins
right?
repository.
Um,
Yeah. So you have this official plugins repository. It has all the plugins things. So I have source dev.to. So this is a dev.to plugin. So you can use dev.to. You can use websites from dev.to. You can use articles from dev.to as a like import those articles here over here. I have in every plugin you'll see a plugin repository and index.js. And I think the overall API, this is something I'm very proud of. So you can just do a you have to export a before build plugin which runs before the build, and then you also have after build which runs after the build. So in before build you get something called a create content function over here. You can just this is so I'm fetching this articles from here. Then I just loop over this articles and I create something called node. Like it's something an object with slug content type created and modified it. Content type can be HTML or Markdown, and then you just call this create content with that object, and those plugins just appear. So like you get these blocks directly. So you can write similar things for the CMS. Usually CMS provides your it'll provide you with the additional like API or something. So you can use this with CMS or any other website. There are source plugins for Dev.to and Medium right now. Am I audible? Yeah. Marco?
lol. I keep getting disconnected.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, so for headless CMS, you can create source plugins. There aren't any source plugins right now for headless CMS. You can use it with, I forgot the name. There's this headless CMS which has the logo of tree. I forgot its name. Um, but yeah, it supports writing into a markdown directly, so you can use it. What is that headless CMS with the logo of tree? How do I even search for it? I think forestry. Yeah, it's forestry. So you can use markdown directly. think I can show documentation until then. So that's documentation. Just run this directly and you'll get a blog. Or you'll get a default app. It has blogs as well. And if you want to sponsor, you can sponsor from this links. It has no template engine, output what is needed. So if your code doesn't have any CSS or JavaScript, it will not have any CSS or JavaScript file at all. Control your bundling, so you can do inline and bundle. Require JSON. I didn't talk about this. This is kind of, I'm uncertain about it. Like it may or may not be in 1.0.0, but yeah, it is there right now. You can do .import content from markdown files, and it renders it markdown into HTML, and you get this HTML. These are all the contributors. Harshit is the one who wrote scope styles. So yeah, and we just released the new version. It'll be somewhere over here. I think yesterday only I released one version, 0.8.0. It adds .program info. It has all the information about which file we're using for theme. Like in Code Sandbox, you might have seen I'm using theme folder to write index.abel. You can change it from abel.config.js and then have a src folder or anything that you prefer, and this variable will have all these values. Then scope selector, which I talked about, scope selector and scope selector all. It adds file name and directory name, which is the default Node.js variables that exist. It didn't have that in Abel, but now we have. Yeah.
Awesome. Sorry, I keep getting disconnected, but
Yeah.
this was amazing. Also, scope selector is also pretty interesting to me because it seems like a one-liner, a simple function that already does so much. Awesome, man. Thank you so much, Saurabh. And if anyone has any questions, you can always talk to Saurabh in the launch, or you can just interact with him on Twitter. So, Saurabh, if you can just paste your Twitter handle here, a lot of people would probably like to follow you in the chat.
Right.
So that's a wrap for Saurabh. And now let's have our next talk, which is from Digvijay, and he's going to talk about Kotaru. So I'm just going to end the session, and I'll invite Digvijay to the screen. Hey everyone, so we have Digvijay with us today, who's going to talk about how we build Kotaru and the UX design principles that he went through while he was building Kotaru. So Digvijay, all yours.
Yes, sure. Hey everyone, I hope you can see my screen. If so, you just let me know in the chat. Okay. So hey everyone, I'm Digvijay. I make full stack applications using MERN. Currently, I'm trying to procure depth in my tech stack, UX and product development. Besides that, I maintain a blog and I like streaming on Twitch too. You can know more about me on my website or reach out to me on Twitter. By the way, I have got huge interest in video games too. Ping me if you are up for a Valorant match after this event. So I have been working on this knowledge management app named Kotaru. It's currently being alpha tested. Highlighting some of the USPs it has. It offers frictionless writing experience. It has gamified environment which pushes you to write more. Moreover, you can make your notes public from the personal note-taking workspace itself. So I'll give you a quick demo of it. So this is how your workspace looks. All the notes are arranged based on the dates and the weeks. so that you can just reflect back on whatever knowledge you captured this week. And you have got these topics which you decide while writing those notes, and all the notes under one topic are just arranged just like that. And let me show how to add a page or a note. So when I add a note, this is a markdown editor, and I can just get to writing just like that. And I can select a topic, whatever is between in these square brackets goes as a topic or a label to that particular note. And I can change its visibility, make it public or private. So those were that was like a quick overview of how this application works. Moreover, you have got these labels on the sidebar as well. So let's say while writing something, you want to reference the notes under the label challenge. So I can just click on it, and it takes me to all the notes that are under it. In future, I'm also planning to add a functionality to like load all the notes which are under the current topic here itself, so that you don't have to go in a separate window and you can see all of them here. So while building Kotaru, I have come across a few UX concepts that I feel anyone who is crafting out products for humans should know. Especially these are the ideas / tactics / tricks / ninja techniques using which I turned this pretty common idea of a note-taking app into a not so boring product. I'll be explaining 3 UX concepts which can level up your application. So first things first, I'm not a UX designer. I mean, I haven't tried formally learning it. These are some insights I got by actually implementing stuff and while working with some good folks. Starting with the first concept, which is associated with functionality. And by the way, I'll be explaining everything with reference to Kotaru and some of the good applications which you could look up to. So starting with the first concept, which is associated with functionality, and people popularly call it the robustness principle or the Postel's law, as it was formulated by John Postel, one of the early pioneers of the internet and the legend who gave a few guidelines for software developers. The law states that be liberal in what you accept and conservative or strict in what you send. I never really understood this statement until I put this in action. So here's what I did in Kotaru. So if you see, unlike traditional note-taking apps like Google Keep or something, in Kotaru you don't have to write any sort of title or like have a separate column for writing your tags. So here's what I want to say by that. The application extracts the first heading, and the tag is whatever we put in these square brackets. So you don't have to worry about putting a tag like before. Like you can just get to writing as it is. It will get more clear when I explain with the second example. So the trick is basically to combine multiple implementations and provide structured information. So like it just reduces confusions. It makes your application more flexible towards the input given, and most importantly, it reduces users' headache. So here's another example. Like when you are checking out on an e-commerce application, you have to fill a huge form for your address, right? You have to write first line of address, then second, then enter city in another column, state in another column, postal code and country, and all of those stuff like that. But a better implementation of this would be to do it in just one line, and the application itself extracts the pin code out of whatever the user is writing. So moving on to let me just show you. So for the curious ones, I want to tell that how I am extracting this. So I'm using regex. So whenever a markdown file is saved, on this page, on the main page, I just query and find out the first heading and use regex to find out whatever is between the square brackets and put it as label. So moving on to the second concept, it's gamification. I know it's a bit overhyped, um, but I feel it's nothing but evoking more usage. So it's like I feel this is the secret sauce behind social platforms being the most actively used softwares. Uh, is because they have these gamified elements. Even the placement of play again buttons in games determine how addictive they can be. And here's what I'm doing in Kotaru. For every note you write, you are awarded some virtual rewards. We call it neurons, and you can exchange those neurons um, in exchange of some exclusive prizes like getting access to some premium newsletter or a free membership to something. So, so same as you unblock new attires collecting points in Subway Surfers. Moreover, all the elements like leaderboards and the social validation you provide to user when using the application motivates them to be in a constant loop. And here's something interesting I did with Kotaru, and that is I send notifications every time they write a new post and they get some neurons. That just redirects them to the neurons page, like where I show them how many points they have got, and on that page they are basically shown all the prizes, and those prizes motivates them to write more. So these are all of the things which I tested in the beta version I released. And so here's a pro tip: give users a performance summary or report of their activity. That works as a complement or motivating factor for further engagement. Just like Valorant does it after every match, like they show some points or something. So finally, think of ways with which you can engage users for longer periods of time, or pumping them up for potential actions. So moving on to the third concept, which is the last one. The third insight which I got while building Kotaru is maintaining a visual hierarchy. I'll tell you what it means. It means placing things in right order and conveying what to focus on. The focus can be altered using many factors like the size of the elements, the colors, their contrast with the background. Let's look at how Airbnb does it. So if you look at Airbnb search page, you can see like whenever I look at these cards, I like this is highlighted because entering will only the price. Like the first filter will of course be the price, and now the second thing which attracting me is the rating because they have the star. So like the second filter is how good is that. Um, so So there are 2.8 million apps on Play Store. So there's a high chance user might drop your product if they are finding it difficult to understand. So maintaining a visual hierarchy reduces confusion and paves way for further interaction. Lastly, the UI should reflect where the user is, what information they have to consume from the screen, and where they are supposed to go next. These are some of the lessons I learned while building Kotaru and in my journey so far. Let me know what you think about this talk on Twitter. I would love to hear your review. Thank you so much for listening and making my first talk successful. And yeah, so thanks. That's pretty much it. It was a short talk, but yeah.
Awesome, man. So Saurabh is saying that the amount of research you did is amazing.
Thanks.
Because a lot of these things are present. We see it every day, but we don't actually observe. the visual hierarchy aspect of it, especially that you spoke of towards the end. Because when you normally see a listing, those are the two things that you care about. But when someone places it out for you, like you did in the talk, it makes more sense. It was very interesting to see. So
Thank you so much.
yeah, Daksh is saying that the illustrations, font, and colors are very good. So, if you have any questions, please let me know. We can ask
Sure, sure, sure.
Digvijay.
Sure. And even if you have some questions for Kotaru's beta or when it is releasing,
Yes,
you
yes,
can
yes. So if you can share more about it, just let us know. Anything else that you want to add for Kotaru?
Yeah, so it will be releasing in Jan mid. So yeah, you can sign up for the beta access on kotaru.io. I'll just leave the link in the chat.
Awesome. So yeah, probably not a great time to ask about features because it's probably under wraps. But yeah, anything feature wise that you can share, because I happen to use Notion a lot. Because
Yeah,
to me
yeah.
it seems like I'm using VS Code, because it's like it feels like I'm coding, because I can embed anything, I can put in Markdown, I can create my own custom templates and so on. So that's why I feel like Notion is my go-to.
Yeah.
Um,
So the
so
interesting thing, which a lot of developers might like, so with Kotaru, you can make your own Jamstack site out of your notes. So like you have got your notes and you use something like Gatsby or Next.js and put all that data, like fetch that data using some API, and yeah, like you can do a query for static props, and you can convert it into a like HTML bundle.
so you're saying that I can use Able and I can use Kotaru.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Amazing. So Saurav is saying, yep.
Mhm.
Awesome. Yeah. So anything you have about Kotaru, you can share with us. But um, there was one thing I think in my notes. Just give me one second. Meanwhile, anyone, if you have any questions, just let me know in the chat.
Sure.
Um, so the audience doesn't know, but this is Digvijay's first talk, and he nailed it. I think, in my opinion, because generally my first talk was very nervous. Even I'm nervous even right now when I'm speaking to an audience. But I think he delivered it very well. And also using gifs and memes, a lot of people were laughing in the chat. All the cat emojis, cat gifs. It reminded me of Ankit's talk last week.
Wow.
Awesome, man. I think that's pretty much all the questions I have. I think. Anyone, if you have any questions, let me know in the chat, or you can just follow Digvijay on Twitter. So just drop your handle in the chat for
Yes.
users to
Sure.
follow you. Um, awesome. Thank you, everyone in the audience and the speakers. Thank you very much for making this a success. So I had a lot of issues with internet, but thank you for everyone for staying patient and making this a success. And I'll see you in 2 weeks' time when I'm planning the next meetup. So thank you, everyone. I'll see you again.
Thanks.
Bye.